Well, there's a new batch of released Epstein emails about Donald Trump, including allegations of sexual behavior with Bill Clinton and accusations that Trump was the single worst person Jeffrey Epstein knew, which is saying a lot since he knew a lot of really bad people. It is important to note that these are just emails. We don't have any evidence to back these up. However, there is a video clip of Jeffrey Epstein testifying under oath about Trump, and the answers he does give are pretty eyebrow-raising. And you mix that in with some testimony from witnesses, things are not looking good. The question is, what are we going to do about it now? But first, let's go over all of the emails. These are quite interesting. There are quite a few, so we're going to kind of go by one, and I did put these in chronological order. These have been going around, circulating all throughout social media, and it's been hard to keep track of them. We did the best that we could. We put them in chronological order, so let's go from the beginning. This is April 2nd of 2011, the dog that hasn't barked. We've already heard this email, so some of these emails are ones that we read previously. Some of these emails are brand new that you haven't seen, but this one was from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell in April of 2011, and he says, I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Victim, which is redacted, spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned, police chief, etc. I'm 75% there. And Ghislaine said, I've been thinking about that. This one is from October 24th of 2012. Which is have your cronies look at mortgage. This is Epstein to Reed Weingarten. And Reed Weingarten is an individual editorial. He is a partner at Steptoe and Johnson and maintains an outstanding reputation representing both corporate and individual clients facing high-stake, white-collar criminal charges. He's based in Washington, D.C. So he is one of the nation's top white-collar criminal defense lawyers, is who he is. And Jeffrey Epstein writes to Reed and says, have one of your cronies ask to see the mortgage to Mar-a-Lago cash from Electricians Union. His driver, Matt, was the bag man, later made an exec at the public company, and the $30 million loan from the casino to Donald Trump backdated. So sounds like there's maybe some criminal stuff there, and Jeffrey Epstein is... interesting that he's saying, hey, and this is a criminal lawyer, and he's saying, hey, have your cronies ask to see the mortgage at Mar-a-Lago. Check into this. And a $30 million loan from the casino to Donald Trump, backdated. Check into all of this. So clearly trying to gather blackmail on Donald Trump, trying to gather stuff. I mean, what is do you think Jeffrey Epstein's like this citizen? He's just like this great citizen, and he's out there trying to catch bad guys? No, of course not. What he's doing is he's trying to gain some sort of leverage on Donald Trump. Hey, we've got dirt on you. That's what he's going for. Not just sexual dirt with young girls, but instead now it's also financial crime dirt on Donald Trump. All right, this next one, this is from December 8th of 2015. This is Jeffrey Epstein to Landon Thomas Jr. And Landon Thomas Jr. is... who is Landon Thomas Jr.? I have this in my notes. Sorry. There's so many to keep track of here. Landon Thomas Jr. is a New York Times writer, a Financial Times writer. That's who he is. And in this exchange, he says, from Jeffrey Epstein, he says, would you like photos of Donald and girls in bikinis in my kitchen? And Thomas Landon says, now everyone is coming to me thinking I have juicy info on you and Trump because of this. Because of the quote that Jeffrey Epstein said. Trump said about Jeffrey Epstein. I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It's even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it. Jeffrey enjoys his social life. I didn't think it could happen to me, but just recently, someone stole my information and actually bought a car under my name in Texas. While I was standing in the Idaho DMV getting my new driver's license, a thief was driving off the dealer lot pretending to be me. And I only caught it because I was getting bombarded with alerts. Now imagine if I hadn't seen them in time. And this is exactly why today's sponsor, Aura, matters. If you've ever wondered how scammers get your personal info, your phone number, your address, even where you supposedly work, it's because of data brokers. These shady companies collect your data and sell it to anyone, from marketers to scammers, and they make billions doing it. They don't ask your permission. And while they're legally required to remove your info if you ask, they make the process nearly impossible on purpose. Believe me, I'm going through it right now. But if I had Aura set up before, this thief would have had a much harder time. Aura automatically scans and scrubs your information from those data broker sites, and then it keeps it off. It also gives you real-time fraud alerts, so instead of finding out a day later that someone used your name, you get notified right away. That's the kind of tool I wish I had in place when all of this happened. But Aura is more than just removing your data from shady brokers. It's an all-in-one digital security app. It alerts you if your personal info is found on the dark web. It monitors your credit and bank accounts in real time. It gives you a secure VPN, password manager, antivirus, and more. And if something does happen, Aura covers you with up to $5 million in identity theft insurance and 24/7 US-based fraud support. The fact that companies profit off of our stolen data while we're left vulnerable is outrageous. I learned that the hard way. But I'm not leaving myself unprotected anymore, and you shouldn't either. Protect yourself and your family with Aura. Try it free for 14 days at aura.com/Kim Iversen. And in just 2 weeks, Aura will show you where your personal data is being exposed and start scrubbing it off the internet automatically. Again, that's aura.com/Kim Iversen. So we all have seen that clip of Donald Trump saying that. And now Thomas Landon is saying to Jeffrey Epstein, well, people think I have dirt on him. They think I have something on him. And then Jeffrey Epstein says, well, would you like some photos of him and girls in bikinis? I mean, I think there's probably a lot of pictures of a lot of men in the world with women in bikinis. I don't think that implies anything. But, just we're going through the emails. We're going through the emails. That's what we're doing here. And he writes back and says, yes. And then Jeffrey Epstein says, read the BuzzFeed regarding my airplane logs and Hawaii Tropic contest. Have them ask my houseman about Donald almost walking through the door, leaving his nose print on the glass as young women were swimming in the pool. And he was so focused, he walked straight into the door. Okay, again, I think any man, any heterosexual man, if he saw a bunch of women swimming in a pool, either in bikinis or naked, probably would do the same thing. So I don't think, again, I don't think that that's anything necessarily, like, oh, gee, Donald is a big pervert. I think that's like every man would see women in bikinis and be like, hey, what's up? Walk through the glass door. Okay, this is another one. This is from, this is kind of the continued exchange. And Jeff says to Thomas, my 20-year-old girlfriend in 93, after 2 years, I gave to Donald. After 2 years, I gave to Donald. So what does that even mean? So my 20-year-old girlfriend in 93, that after 2 years, I gave to Donald. So he had a 20-year-old girlfriend in 93, and then after 2 years, he gave her to Donald Trump, supposedly. So she would have been of age. She would have been an adult at that time. Thomason writes, I'm serious, man, for the good of the nation. Why not try to get some of this out there? I would not do it myself, but would pass on to a political reporter. Plus, look at these lies. In response to a message left seeking the Trump campaign's comment on this article, on Thursday, Trump's general counsel, Alan Garten, emailed threatening legal action against BuzzFeed News. Quote, Mr. Trump's only connection with Mr. Epstein was that Mr. Epstein was one of thousands of people who had visited Mar-a-Lago. That's it. Mr. Trump has never been accused of having any involvement or even having any knowledge of any of Mr. Epstein's conduct by anyone. As a result, I have no idea what the purpose of your article could possibly be, other than to try and intentionally and with actual malice defame my client's name and reputation by mentioning him in the same article as Mr. Epstein. In other words, suggest guilt by association. This is the very definition of irresponsible and reckless journalism, and to publish such a story would be highly unethical even by BuzzFeed standards, is what Thomas sent to Jeff, to Epstein, that's something he had received. This is December 2015. And this is that we already read this email before. It was, if you were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? When he was informed that CNN is going to be asking Trump about his association with Epstein. And that's what they asked. If you were to craft an answer for him, what should it be? And then they kind of came up with this, let him hang himself. Now, this is written by Michael Wolff, and Michael Wolff is an American author, and journalist. So he has written for numerous publications, including Vanity Fair, New York Magazine, USA Today, The Hollywood Reporter. So a lot of the people that he's talking to, a couple of them anyway, Michael Wolff and Thomas Landon, or is it Landon Thomas? Thomas Landon. Is it Land? It's Landon Thomas Jr. They are journalists. December 16, he says, let him hang himself. And, okay, let's see. This one is from February 2016. This is from Jeffrey Epstein to Thomas Jr., Landon Thomas Jr., saying, regarding Trump, but being a phony rich person. On Wednesday, let's see, February 10th, Landon Thomas wrote, actually, I don't think he or voters would care. Being effectively shameless is a pretty powerful weapon for a presidential candidate. And Landon wrote to Epstein, it says the stories you could tell. And let's see here, February 2017. Sorry, guys. We're just going through these. We got to go through them one by one, just so we know what's being put out there and we know the truth. This one, again, this is from Jeffrey Epstein to Larry Summers. Larry Summers is an economist and former United States Secretary of the Treasury. So now we're getting out of just journalists, and now we're looking at exchanges from really powerful people. And this is in 2017, and he says, from Jeffrey Epstein, he says, recall, I've told you I have met some very bad people, none as bad as Trump. Not one decent cell in his body. So yes, dangerous. And Larry Summers had written him and said he didn't wreck the world and avoided scandal. What does Rumler say regarding his attitude toward women? And Rumler is an attorney who was principal deputy White House counsel and White House counsel to President Barack Obama. I think the picture that we're kind of getting here, I mean, we're going to keep going because there's some more emails to look at, but I think the picture we're getting here is that, Jeffrey Epstein was ultra liberal, ultra on the side of Democrats, clearly hated Donald Trump, clearly was working with people to undermine him, looking to get dirt, looking to print stories on him, and looking to oust him or get rid of him. I mean, clearly kind of operating as a Democrat operative. And I think this is why Trump says, oh, this is just a Democrat hoax. And, there is something to that in regards to clearly Jeffrey Epstein was favorable to Democrats. So if that's the case, why was he favorable? Was he favorable because he had his own political opinions and he just didn't like Trump, like many people didn't? And is he a Democrat because but then the question is, okay, so did he have a lot of dirt on Democrats? Was he working on behalf of Democrats a lot? Clearly he had dirt on a lot of people and it didn't matter what side of the aisle they were on. But he did seem to have. So when Trump and the Trump people say, well, this is a Democrat hoax, you have to understand the lens that they're saying that from. And it sounds like Jeffrey Epstein was very much against Donald Trump and trying to take him down. But the question is, did he have dirt on him? And if he did, and I'm going to conclude actually that Epstein did have dirt on Trump, and I'm going to conclude that his handlers, that would be Mossad and the state of Israel, they were not allowing him to use any of that. He'd probably turned over everything that he had to his handlers, and he wasn't holding on to it. All he had was rumors at this point, or things that he could kind of point to that were smaller. And I'm sure that Israel and Mossad were not allowing for Jeffrey Epstein to take Trump down because Trump ended up being the greatest asset to the state of Israel. So keep all of that in mind as we're kind of going through this. So Jeffrey Epstein says, goes on and says, and this one is now Thanksgiving. This is Thanksgiving with Donald Trump. Now, remember, Donald Trump acted like, I don't really know Jeffrey Epstein. I kind of just kicked him out of my club. But then we have these video recordings of him saying, oh, yeah, I know Jeffrey Epstein. He likes young girls. And now we're seeing that he actually was hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein quite a few times and also hung out with him at Thanksgiving, which is what this thread says. This is between Jeffrey Epstein and Faith Cates. Who is Faith Cates? Faith Cates is the founder of Next Model Management. Okay, so she says, hope today's fun for you. And Epstein says, fun? When are you back in New York City? And she says, all next week. And he says, okay, Dylan will want to see you. I always want to see you. Where are you having Thanksgiving? Oh, sorry, she says that. to him again. And then he says, Eva, I don't know what that means. And she says to him, that means Glenn, check out his red hair. And Epstein says, Barry's color for holiday. So this is kind of like a lame exchange for a minute here. And then she says, he's such a snooze. Who else is down there? And Epstein says, David Fizzle, Hansen, Trump. And then she says, have fun. So now we know he was spending Thanksgiving with Donald Trump. Now, not at his house, but still, he was socializing with Donald Trump. So when they say, oh, I didn't really hang out with the guy, I didn't really know the guy, that's not necessarily true. They definitely hung out in the same circles. Okay, this one is weird. This email exchange is weird. Did Jeffrey Epstein's implying, or Mark Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein's brother, this is an exchange about them and between them, and they imply that Donald Trump and Bill Clinton had some sexual rendezvous. Okay, I don't know. This is what it says. Mark Epstein writes to Jeffrey Epstein, and he says, how are you doing? A while back, you mentioned that you were pre-diabetic. Has anything changed with that? What is your boy Donald up to now? And this is 2018, March of 2018. And Epstein says, all good, Bannon with me. And Mark Epstein says, ask him if Putin has the photos of Trump blowing Bubba. Who's Bubba? Bubba is a nickname for Bill Clinton. So when he says, ask him if Putin, so he's saying, ask Bannon, because Jeffrey Epstein saying, I'm with Bannon. And his brother Mark says, all right, ask him if Putin has the photos of Trump blowing Bubba. And then Jeffrey Epstein wrote back and said, and I thought I had Soros, which is Yiddish for trouble. I thought I had Soros. And Mark says, you and your boy Donnie can make a remake of the movie Get Hard, sent via tin can and string. And Epstein says, you mean Donnie T? And Mark says, I'd rather be in Donnie D's shoes. Okay. All right. I'm sure it's a joke. Maybe it's not a joke, though. I mean, you never know. We think it's a joke, but then you have to sit here and go, well, what if? I mean, people, we're hearing all these weird things coming out of Diddy's parties and all the rappers that Diddy made do them or something. So I don't know. Maybe Bill Clinton and Donald Trump had a little tryst at Jeffrey Epstein's or at Putin's or somewhere. I mean, I'm having a hard time believing that, but you just never know, right? I mean, you never know. Okay, we're moving on to March of 2018. Landon Thomas Jr., the financial correspondent for the New York Times, based in London, says to Jeffrey Epstein, he's scaring the shit out of me now. He could well tank global economy. Can Barack talk sense to him anymore? Maybe it's time for you to jump in now. Given how he's throwing caution to the wind in such epic fashion, why wouldn't he take your call? Give it a shot. And Epstein says he feels alone and is nuts. I told everyone from day one, evil beyond belief, mad, and most thought I was speaking metaphorically. It's obvious he could crack. Stormy Daniels, lies after lies after lies, he says. I mean, again, for Epstein to say that Trump is the worst person he's ever met, but then again, keep in mind, everybody at that time had Trump derangement syndrome. And everybody at that time was saying Trump's Hitler. Trump's the worst person in the world. So you kind of have to keep that into perspective as the time frame that this was happening. And everybody was saying Trump's the worst guy I've ever met. Trump's the worst person I've ever known. It was kind of trendy to say that. The next email, this was from 2018. And this is from Thorborn Jagland. And Thorborn Jagland writes to Jeffrey Epstein and says, and Thorborn Jagland, by the way, is the former prime minister of Norway. I might not have said his name correctly. Did my best. But he says, I'll meet Lavrov's assistant on Monday and will suggest thank you for a lovely evening. I'll come to unhigh level week. And Epstein says, I think you might suggest to Putin that Lavrov can get insight on talking to me. Vitaly Churkin used to, but he died. And also Epstein said, Churkin was great. He understood Trump after our conversations. It's not complex. He must be seen to get something. It's that simple. He was hanging out with a lot of really powerful people. And I think this is why we see, the state of Israel, which we now know that Jeffrey Epstein was working for, which is definitely uncovered by Drop Site News. And, he had a lot of powerful people that he was working with. And the question is, how much dirt did he get on all of them? And how much control is the state of Israel able to have over people with blackmail? This is to Kathy Rumler, who was Kathy Rumler was she was the former White House counsel. Okay, so she's writing to Jeffrey Epstein. She says, here's the story from the New York Times that I thought you'd find interesting. The principled case for impeachment is clear. What's missing is the courage. So again, very anti-Trump, wanting to get rid of him. And Epstein says, I think he makes the argument that it was his and Trump's money making it not illegal. So he's talking about Stormy Daniels and that whole, or maybe it was the other woman that he supposedly paid off, right? Though he said he also only found out afterwards. And the fact, according to the indictment, was billed as services rendered and grossed up. I'm sure his accountant has flipped anyway. I did talk in detail to Starr yesterday regarding indictments, how Trump can make a deal. Clinton's trash can. Yes, Starr gave me more. So I think he's talking about Ken Starr. And then Kathleen Rumler says, it makes no difference whether it's his money, issue his failure to disclose. Plus, the fact that he has lied his ass off about it makes clear that he knew it was illegal. So they're just, again, this is just showing, when Democrats release these emails, because it was Democrats that released them, and Trump is saying, oh, this is a Democrat hoax. And Democrats are saying, no, there is dirt with Trump and Epstein. What's interesting mostly about this is they're kind of both right. There's stuff in here that shows, obviously Epstein was friendly with Trump or ran in the same circles. He had some photos of Trump. He'd hung out with Trump. And also that Epstein was very much against Donald Trump and was very much working with Democrat, or just friendly with Democratic powerful circles. So, both of those things seem to be a bit true. Here's another email. It will all blow over. This is to Epstein. We don't know who this is from. This is a redacted sender. It will all blow over. They're really just trying to take down Trump and doing whatever they can to do that. And Epstein says, and then the reply, yes, thanks, it's wild because I'm the one able to take him down. That was Epstein saying that. So somebody said, it will all blow over. They're really just trying to take down Trump and doing whatever they can to do that. And Epstein says, yes, thanks, it's wild because I'm the one able to take him down. So he must have had something on him, and that was in 2018. But, he was working for what we believe to be the state of Israel and Mossad. They wouldn't let him take him down. Why? Well, why not? Well, because obviously Trump has now become the biggest lackey for Israel and doing everything that they want. Okay. Let me see what else is in here that's actually there's so many emails, and there's going to be so many, and we cannot possibly go through all of them. But I do want to show you this one. Let's see here. There is this one right here that just is very, very disturbing. Now, this is not about Donald Trump, but this is from Jeffrey Epstein to Tom Barak saying, and Tom Barak, who's been mentioned before, this is the United States ambassador to Turkey. And he says, send photos of you and child. Make me smile. What does that mean? And this is Tom Barak, the ambassador to Turkey. What does that mean? Send photos of you and child. Make me smile. That's pretty disgusting. Here's, look, these emails, again, they're just emails. It's like two people talking, various different people talking, and it could be just high school chatter. They're just saying things. There's no evidence here. That's not, these emails and people talking back and forth and talking crap about somebody is not evidence. So this is where, unless there's hard evidence that comes out against Donald Trump, which there has been some evidence, and I'm going to show that to you, then these emails are really just kind of nothing. But they're interesting, and they do paint a picture of there was more going on between Epstein and Trump than Trump likes to admit. Epstein, and then also Epstein was definitely more on the Democratic side, or didn't want Donald Trump to be president, didn't like the guy, just like Trump asserts about this being some sort of a Democrat hoax. But let's listen to Epstein himself. This is him under oath, and he's being questioned about his relationship to Donald Trump.
Have you ever had a personal relationship with Donald Trump?
What do you mean by personal relationships?
Have you socialized with him?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
Okay. So there you go. He's not answering that question, doesn't want to answer that question. That leads people to believe guilt. Maybe Epstein did that on purpose. Maybe there was guilt. Here's another thing that came out. This was from 2016. Now, some people criticize this affidavit because they say that the affidavit, we don't know who it is. It's Tiffany Doe, which is a pseudonym. And some reporters and fact checkers have traced the connections between this anonymous plaintiff and individuals with a reputation for fabricating celebrity scandals, notably Norm Lubow, a former Jerry Springer producer. And they're claiming that maybe this person is that person. And so they're disputing this affidavit. But in this affidavit, Tiffany Doe says, I originally met Jeffrey Epstein in New York City in 1990 when I was the age of 22. I attended a series of parties in that same year of 1990 where I was paid to entertain various guests of Mr. Epstein. And Tiffany Doe goes on to say that she was essentially recruited and hired to recruit young girls for Epstein to traffic. Okay, so she was a groomer, basically. And she said, performing my duties as a recruiter of adolescent women to attend Epstein's parties, I met, this was in June of 1994, I met a 13-year-old adolescent woman, the plaintiff in this matter, at the Port Authority in New York City, who said that she had come to New York City in the hope of starting a modeling career. I persuaded the plaintiff to attend a series of parties of Mr. Epstein's that took place during the summer of 1994. I told her that if she would join me at the party, she would be introduced to people who could get her into the modeling profession and she would be paid for attending. It was at these series of parties that I personally witnessed the plaintiff being forced to perform various sexual acts with Donald J. Trump and Mr. Epstein. Both Mr. Trump and Mr. Epstein were advised that she was 13. I personally witnessed 4 sexual encounters that the plaintiff was forced to have with Mr. Trump during this period, including the 4th of these encounters where Mr. Trump forcibly raped her despite her pleas to stop. I personally witnessed the one occasion where Mr. Trump forced the plaintiff and a 12-year-old female named Maria to perform oral sex on Mr. Trump and witnessed his physical abuse of both minors when they finished the act. I personally witnessed or was made immediately aware of the 2 occasions where my boss, Mr. Epstein, attempted to rape and sodomize the plaintiff. I personally witnessed Mr. Epstein sexually and physically abusing other minor females, even younger than her. It was my job to personally witness and supervise encounters between the underage girls that Mr. Epstein hired and his guests. I personally witnessed Mr. Trump physically threaten the life and well-being of the plaintiff if she ever revealed any details of the physical and sexual abuse suffered by her at the hands of Mr. Trump. I personally witnessed Mr. Epstein physically threaten the life and well-being of the plaintiff if she ever revealed the details of the physical and sexual abuse that she suffered at the hands of Mr. Epstein or any of his guests. I personally witnessed defendant Trump telling the plaintiff that she shouldn't ever say anything if she didn't want to disappear like the 12-year-old female Maria, and that he was capable of having her whole family killed. After leaving the employment of Mr. Epstein in the year 2000, I was personally threatened by Mr. Epstein that I would be killed and my family killed as well if I ever disclosed any of the physical and sexual abuse of minor females that I had personally witnessed by Mr. Epstein or any of his guests. I'm coming forward to swear to the truthfulness of the physical and sexual abuse that I personally witnessed of minor females at the hands of Mr. Trump and Mr. Epstein, including the plaintiff during the time of my employment from the years 1990 to 2000, for Mr. Epstein. I swear to these facts under the penalty of perjury, even though I fully understand that my life of myself and my family is now in grave danger. And that is signed Tiffany Doe. And that was June 18th of 2016. Now, again, critics have said, well, this is a Tiffany Doe. We don't know who this is. It could have been this Jerry Springer producer. And also this was at the time in 2016 when everybody was trying to get Trump out of power. So like, why then? Why not previously? Why was this all coming out then? And those are good questions. But let's talk. I want to play this clip for you. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene and Sean Spicer talking. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, who I just love, I've really grown to really like her a lot and really respect her because I know that she's always honest. Even if I don't agree with her, I at least know she's honest. And this is what she has to say about Trump and all these files. She says, look, girls have come out and said Trump never did anything wrong.
I want to start in a place that I don't like to start with, but everybody wants to know what's going on with this Epstein stuff. And there was some news about the Democrats releasing new emails. Anyway, I don't want to tell you what I think. I want to know what you think because you matter more. What do you think about this information? What is this going to get a big reception on the Hill? Is the discharge petition going to pass?
Great question. Well, as you know, my name is on the discharge petition, and today the speaker is supposed to be swearing in the new Democrat member of Congress that says that she will be signing the discharge petition. So that will create 218 signatures to release Thomas Massey's bill to release the Epstein files. But I also serve on the Oversight Committee, and I'm involved in our investigation on the Oversight Committee into the Epstein files. And we have already had a lot of information been released to us. So much information that I haven't made my way through all of it yet. And I actually have a meeting today about those emails that the Democrats had released. Those were emails I had not seen yet. The one thing that I will tell you is over and over and over again, the victims, the actual victims of Jeffrey Epstein have said that Donald Trump did nothing wrong. And I think that their voices speak the loudest, and those are the women that I'm listening to. And I look forward to seeing them again. I think we're planning to have another press conference next week.
Okay. Victims have said over and over and over again, Donald Trump has done nothing wrong. Now, again, we all need to be extremely skeptical of this. What we're seeing in affidavits, what other victims have said, and Virginia Giuffre is now dead. And many people are dead that are involved in this Epstein scandal. So people are being threatened. It's not just their lives. They're being threatened by their family members being killed. And that is very powerful. So Donald Trump is, without a doubt, Israel's greatest ally. There is no doubt about that at this point. Let the facts speak for themselves. His behavior speak for itself. He has done everything that Israel wants. He is the dog that doesn't bark. And that is a reference to the dog that doesn't bark is because he's an ally of yours. He's your friend. That's the dog that doesn't bark. So Donald Trump is and has been the friend of Israel, and they will not allow anything to happen to him. So, of course, if they've got all this blackmail on him, let's say, and if they're using that blackmail to get him to do their bidding, they're going to ensure that none of these victims have anything negative to say. I'm surprised that they've allowed any of this stuff to come out. And I think the question would be, why is this stuff coming out now? These are the questions I think we all have to ponder is, why is this coming out now? What is it Israel wants? I mean, if you were Mossad and you had a blackmail operation against Donald Trump, you'd been using Epstein to do this and against a lot of people, but you have all this blackmail on Trump. What is your goal here? So for a while, you'd want to protect the guy because he's saying, yes, I'll do whatever you want. And you're pretty confident that when he becomes president, he's going to move the embassy to Jerusalem. He's going to allow the annexation of the West Bank. He's going to give you all the weapons you want. He's going to do whatever you want. So at that point, you go into protection mode and you kind of dangle a few things out there like, remember, we have this stuff on you. And then you say, we could release it or we could not release it. And if you just do what we want, we won't release it. And then things kind of disappear for a while. And then you have to wonder, why are things coming out now? Well, why now? And then, of course, the witnesses, the girls, like what Marjorie Taylor Greene's saying is, and they're saying, no, Trump did no wrong. Again, they could be easily threatened and told, don't say a word. We got Trump on our side right now. We don't want anything to ruin that. So then why now? Well, for me, The obvious answer is because Trump has said very plainly and very clearly, I'm not allowing you to annex the West Bank. He's been very, very clear on that. And he said, this is a red line. You cannot annex the West Bank. Israel doesn't like that answer. He's also said other things to Israel that they don't like you have to stop the war. You're not allowed to ethnically cleanse Gaza. We're going to let the Palestinians come back. And now suddenly all this stuff is coming out. So when Trump says it's a giant Democrat hoax, I think what he means is Israel. I mean, what else is he supposed to say? Can't say, hey, my blackmailers are blackmailing me, guys. Instead, he's going to say, now that the Democrats are using the Epstein hoax involving Democrats, not Republicans, to try and deflect from their disastrous shutdown and all of their other failures, I will be asking AG Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice, together with our great patriots at the FBI, to investigate Jeffrey Epstein's involvement and relationship with Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, Reid Hoffman, JP Morgan, Chase, and many other people and institutions to determine what was going on with them and him. This is another Russia scam with all arrows pointing to the Democrats. Records show that these men and many others spent large portions of their life with Epstein and on his island. Stay tuned. So he is throwing a lot of people under the bus. Bill Clinton, we already knew about that. Larry Summers, Reid Hoffman, JP Morgan, Chase, many other people and institutions he's saying are involved with Epstein. And he's sounding desperate. He's wanting to throw everybody else and deflect while clearly the people that have been controlling all of the blackmail are now saying, Trump, we're hanging you out to dry because you're not doing what we want. I mean, that's what it looks like to me. Maybe it looks like something different to you, but to me, that's what this is all looking like. You always have to ask who is benefiting. Why would this come out now? What is happening? And and I think right now Israel's upset. They don't want to have to stop their genocide. They want to be able to annex the West Bank. They don't want the Palestinians to return to Gaza. They're wanting what they want, and they're willing to fight for it. And this is one of their weapons. So keep that in mind as you go through and read all of these emails. There are a lot of different things going on here. Yes, Democrats. It seemed like Epstein wanted to get rid of him, and he's kind of with the Democrats. But then again, maybe that's because Israel wasn't really sure about Donald Trump. Because, I'm pretty convinced Epstein was a Mossad asset working for the state of Israel. That's why I talk about it so factually. And I think there has been enough facts to come out for us to pretty much assert this. But other mainstream news people are going to sit there and say, well, we don't have any evidence of that. Yes, you do. You have plenty of evidence of that. You just don't want to say it. So keep asking questions. We will keep asking questions. The big question, though, is if they do have dirt on Donald Trump or any other politicians, what are we Americans going to do about it? What can we do about it? I'm not sure. It seems like these guys are able to get away with anything. Like we find out that a foreign country has complete control over our government and we just sit and take it. We're at a point where we're so numb that we just sit and take it. So I think that's the big question. That as we move forward and as we get more Epstein files uncovered, I think the big question is, what are we Americans going to do about it? Thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iversen Show, which you can catch Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern at KimIversenShow.com. It is free for you to watch. Again, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, KimIversenShow.com. See you there.